Okay guys, so we have delved with some meat of our project, so let's move on to the bones itself, the harder part. Okay, so we have been able to implement checking of occupied seat from the back end. Now we want to move on to the payment integration. All right, so for the payment integration, I decided to use Paystack. This is their website. It's modern online and offline payment for Africa. I decided not to use Stripe because there are a lot of implementation videos on Stripe, so I think it's a good time to switch it up with something from Paystack. And since I am in Ghana and Africa, I decided to use something that is from Africa too. So let's see their documentation of how you can implement their payment system inside your projects. All right, so when you go to their documentation, this is the URL. I'll leave the link inside the description for you guys. So this is the place. The payment page API provides a quick and secure way to collect payments for products. Okay, so this is what you are going to integrate into our project. All right, and this is the URL that you are supposed to make the post request to. Okay, so it needs some few details. It needs inside the headers, it needs the authorization with your secret key, and the content type must be application/JSON. The body of the request should contain which must contain a required one, which is the name of the page, what the transaction or the payment is about. Then you can add this optional one, the description, the amount, and the metadata and redirect URL, which we are going to implement in our project. So let's jump into VS Code and go on. All right, so we'll move into our views.py. All right, so we are going to create a view for payment. All right, so we're going to create a view for payment. So we are going to call it make payment. It's going to take the request. Then the request that will be made to this view is going to be post. So we are going to take the data from it, or the body of the request. So data, you're going to store it in a variable called data, and request dot body. Since this is going to give us this request dot body is going to be given to us in a byte string, we want to convert it to a Python dictionary. So you are going to use JSON to do that. So I will be able to access the values in it very simply. So JSON.loads. Okay, so you want the seat numbers. So the post request that will be made to the back end should have the seat numbers that the person wants to book for. Then you run a map that has a lambda. A lambda that is going to take a particular seat. The seat number, and add 1 to it. Okay, so in the previous one, you see we subtracted 1 from here, and I said I was going to tell you what it is for. Okay, so at the front end, the the UI is counting in a zero index way, so you are supposed to provide it in a zero index. So it's going to be 0 1 2 0 1 2 3 4 up to the end. So we are supposed to find a way of reducing the seat number by 1, but at the back end we are storing it as a one index counting. If there is something like that, it means that we are starting our counting from 1 to the end, but at the front end the counting is starting from 0 to the to infinity. All right, okay, that's why we are adding 1 here and we are subtracting 1 here. Okay, we are going to pass it the data. It is going to be, I'm going to take the seat list. All right, now we have the seat numbers. We want to know which particular movie that was booked for, so we are going to get the movie title. It is going to be part of the request. Sorry, so data and movie title. All right, so now we have the movie title. So we want to get the cost. Instead of letting the front end send us the cost, we want to access the cost ourselves from the backend, since we have stored the prices from the we have stored the prices at the backend. It will be more safer to do the checking of the prices ourselves for each movie. So we are going to get the movie.object.get. we are going to get it with the title. The title will be equal to movie title. Then we get the price. All right, so now we have the seats, or the seat numbers which the person is trying to book for or pay for, and the cost of the movie the person is booking for. So what is left now is the request to the payment API or Paystack's API. So from their documentation, which is here, it's requiring from us a header. The header should have the authorization here, the authorization, and the content type application as the content type as application/JSON, and the authorization should have a bearer and your secret key. Okay, so first let's create the header. So the header is going to be a dictionary, and first it's going to have an authorization. All right, and from the documentation you saw that it's supposed to be a bearer and your secret key, but you are not going to put our secret key here. So we are going to use string interpolation to add our secret key to it. So settings, we are going to define a variable in the settings file for with our Paystack secret key. So let's call this Paystack underscore secret. All right, okay, so now let's import in the settings file. So from django.conf import settings. Okay, so now we have setting here. Then the next thing that is required is the content type. content dash type, which is going to be application slash JSON. All right, so now you are done with the headers. Okay, so let's declare this variable inside our settings file. So we are going to copy. Let's copy this and let's go to our settings file, and let's go below or beneath it. Let's create a comment here. So payment, then we define our variable here. Okay, so now when you check the .env file that I added, or the template that I added, you see I've created an export payment secret here. So you are not going to directly put our secret key also inside the settings file. You are going to reference it from the .env file. So when you get your secret key from Paystack, then you just add it here. I'm going to add mine below. All right, so you are going to get it from the .env file, os.environ.get. You are getting this Paystack secret. Okay, so now we are sorted with this one. Okay, so now let's move to the body. So we are going to call our body data. Then first we saw that it's supposed to have a name. So name, the name should be, can be anything that you want, but you want it to be more descriptive of what you are doing. So we are going to call it payment of movie ticket. All right, then the next thing we want to do is the amount the person is supposed to pay. So the amount is going to be an integer. And since you have calculated the cost for that particular movie, you are going to store the cost here. Cost times the length of seat numbers. So if the movie costs $10, then the person booked for 3 seats, we have to multiply the seat number, the length of the seat numbers that was returned to us, by the cost, so I will be able to get $30. So I will not be charging wrongly. So length of seat numbers. Okay, so now we have it. But Paystack documentations let us know that the amount here should be in Kobo, that is a Nigerian currency, or should be in pesos, in Ghana cedis. It's equivalent to cents in dollars, and so you are supposed to multiply it by 100, just like how you do for Stripe too. So times 1,000, all right, times 100, sorry. Now you want to give a description to the payment. All right, the description is going to be an F string that we are going to tell what the payment is for. So payment for learn that's going to be the length of the seat numbers, and payment for the seats. So this is going to give us, this here is going to give us the length or the number of tickets. So payment for, if it is 2 seats, it's going to give us payment for 2 tickets of the movie title. Right. Now the last thing we want to do is that we want to collect the person's phone number, so that in case of anything we'll be able to contact the person. So true if you want to collect the person's call number, and a redirect URL. A redirect URL is going to be used, is the URL that the person will be sent to after a correct transaction has been done. So if it is not specified, it is still going to be, the person will be stuck at Paystack's URL. So redirect URL is going to be, it's going to be a URL on our views, but you have not yet done it, so let's comment it for the meantime. We are going to implement it when we get there. Okay, so now we are sending, we have our body ready. Okay, so now let's make our request. So now let's store it inside response. It's equal to request. You are going to use the request library. Request. So let's import it in. Import request. Oh, sorry. Request. So request dot post. You are going to make a post request, and you are making it to the URL. You're going to post it into the URL api.paystack.com/pages/page. Yes. Alright. And the argument that we are adding is data, or no, JSON. You're adding a JSON body to it that is equal to data, and we are adding a headers to it that's equal to header. Alright. Okay, so what you want to do is that if the response dot status code is equal to 200, that means it was successful. Then we are going to make the response, you are going to get the data from the response. So I'm going to store it inside response data, which is going to be response dot JSON. Alright, then there's a particular, inside the response you are going to get the URL for which the person or the customer is supposed to be redirected to for him or her to make their payment. So we are going to get the Slack here, the Slack here. So it's going to be response data, and inside it's going to be inside data, and inside data we are going to have the Slack. All right, sorry guys for my typing errors. All right, so let's look at the documentation again. So when you read here, it says the URL Slack would be associated. URL Slack you would like to associate this with the page will be accessible at https://paystack.com/pay and the Slack. So if you want to add your own custom Slack, then you provide it inside the body that you use to make the request. But in our case, you are not adding our own custom Slack. So Paystack will generate one for us, and we are supposed to redirect the person to this page or to this link for him to make the payment. So let's copy that. So now you have to make the URL, so the redirect URL. Direct URL is equal to an F string of what we copied, this guy here, but here is going to be the Slack, what you are going to get from here. Slack. All right, so now we have Slack, we have our redirect URL. Okay, but we want to store the payment intent, so that we know we can use it to do some analytics and see the number of people that come to our website, book for payment, but when they get to the payment side, they are not able to go through, or they are not able to go through the payment. So we are going to store a payment intent, which you have already created a model for here. Payment intent model here. Oh, okay, you haven't created a model. Sorry guys, you have not created a payment intent model here. So you are going to do that right now. You are going to create a payment intent model. So class equal to a class payment intent is going to inherit from models.model. Okay, so the payment intent is going to have the referrer, which is going to be the URL that was used to redirect the person to the payment website. Okay, so it's going to be a models.url field. All right, then you're going to have the movie title too. That's going to be a models.char field. Sorry, models. Models.char field have a max length of 255. All right, and the last thing is going to have is the seat numbers. The seat numbers here, you're going to store it as a char field. So models.char field, max length is going to be 200. It's fine. All right, So now we have our payment intent model available now. So now let's go back into our views. Let me close down some of these. All right, let's go back to our view. Okay, so you are going to create a payment intent for this. Since you have gotten the redirect URL, we want to create a payment intent so you store the intentions of the customer to purchase a book seat. All right, so it's going to be payment intent dot object dot create object dot create. So the payment intent is going to take the referrer, which is going to be the redirect URL, the next thing it will take is the movie title, movie underscore title, that one is also going to be the movie title, and the last thing it will take is the seat numbers, equal to seat numbers. All right, so now we have that ready. Okay, so now we are storing the payment intent. So since you have stored the payment intent, the final thing we want to do is to return the redirect URL to the front end so that it will make it will redirect the person to the payment portal. So it's going to return a JSON response. Okay, we're going to return a JSON response, and inside it you are going to have a key that is redirect URL, or no, payment URL, and to be redirect. All right. Okay, so if all this is not able to go through, you want to return a JSON response of error. That has an error key saying sorry, service is not available. All right. Okay, so let's save this and go to our URL and add it to it. So it's going to be a path that goes to payment / going to use the make payment URL, make payment view, and we are going to give it a name that is called payment. All right, perfect. So you can store this now, and let's check our server. Okay, our server is running, but before we run into any errors, let's make migrations for the payment intent table we just created. So let's shut it down. So Python manage.py, make migrations. Okay, now let's migrate. All right, so now let's run our server. now. Okay, our server is running. Okay, so now we have a URL and a view for making payments now. All right, so what you want to do is go now. The front end is supposed to be able to make payment or allow the user to make payment to the back end. Oh no, wait, the front end is supposed to now contact the back end for a payment URL so that it will redirect the user to the payment page for him or her to make the transaction. I hope that is clear. All right, so now when we check our website or our app, you see we have a button here, or we added our own button, which when the user clicks, it's supposed to redirect him or her to the payment page so he can make the transaction. We are going to add an event listener to it. Okay, so inside our template we gave it a class. That's the changes we made. We gave it a class purchase BTN. Okay, so you are going to get hold of it. Then now moving to our backend.js, add a const here. Const, call it call to action BTN, call it document. Sorry guys, document dot query selector. You are going to get the button that has this class. All right, so now you have the button. Now let's go down and add an event listener to it. So CTA BTN / dot add event listener. Oh god, add an event listener. So the event listener is going to be a click. So when a click is made on it, what do you want to do? So an arrow function, yeah, and when a click function is, or when a click event happens on the button, what you want to do first is grab the movie title. Okay, going to grab the movie title, and we are going to grab it in this way. So we are going to get the movie select dot options and the movie select dot selected index, and we are going to get the ID. You see, that's why I said we are supposed to place a special identifier on each movie option that we created, which was the movie title. So you are getting the movie title here from the ID. Okay, so now you have the movie title, and the next thing we want to get is the seat list. All right, so the seat list is going to be JSON. The JSON.parse. You are going to get it from the local storage, since whenever you choose a thing, is going to book a seat or pick a seat, it's going to be stored inside local storage. So .get item, and it's going to be selected seat All right, so the seat or the seat list can be an empty array, so we have to check for that, or it can return null, so we have to check for that before we make contact to the back end. So we check if seat list is not it's not equal to now and seat list dot length is greater than 0. All right, then we want to form a data here, a data variable, which is going to be the movie title, because the back end is expecting it. The movie title and the seat list. Okay, so I told you that in JavaScript we can make an object with just the referencing the variable here, and this is going to create a key of a movie title referencing to having the value as the value of movie title. So it's going to be something like this, then movie title. Okay, something like this, but to simplify it, you can write it in this shorthand way. Okay, so now we have our data. So the next thing we want to do is contact the back end. So it's going to be, we have a function already for that, which is contact API. Contact API, and the URL that we are going to post to is the payment URL. So payment and what it is expecting, the data. All right, so if you are able to make the request or to make the fetch, then the next thing is you take the response from the back end, then we check if the response has a key called payment underscore URL. Then we want to redirect the customer, else you want to throw an error. So let's do just console.log error. That means there's no payment URL. So then let's attach a catch to this one. So catch, all right, that's also going to be console.log e. All right, okay, so now with the redirection of the user, we are going to use window.location .href equal to the payment URL you get from the back end. URL that we get from the back end Okay, so this is what is going to make the redirection to the payment portal. We could have also used window.location.replace, then we provided the URL inside the square inside a bracket. Okay, so something like this, window.location.replace, then we provide the URL here. But with this one, it is going to take out our URL, or the URL where the redirection is happening from the person's history, so the customer cannot go back to the website again. That's why I am using this method instead. Alright, so now what is left is for us to test it. Make sure that inside the .env file you have added your Paystack secret to it. The Paystack secret to it. I'm going to define mine at the bottom. Alright, so you can find your Paystack secret when you go to your dashboard. Okay, so you're going to find your secret key here. When you just click on this and you copy it, then you add it to the payment, to the Paystack secret here. It's very needed here, or else the application is going to break. Alright, okay, so I have added mine at the bottom of the file, so I'm going to take out this and let's save it. Okay, so before I do that, let me source in my .env file first before we check on that. Source.env, because I've made changes to it. Alright, so now let's go to our website and refresh. Let's see, everything is going to work as planned. Okay, so now we have one seat selected. Okay, so now let's click on this, give it a few seconds. Let's open our console and see what's going on. Okay, I'm sure it's going to be an authorization error of 4.3. Okay, okay, so cannot add a property of now. Property add event lister of now. Sorry guys, it's supposed to be this way. Sorry. Alright, so now let's try making the request once again. Okay, now we got URL not found for a 404. Wow, I think we added it too. Oh, sorry, it's supposed to be payment. Let's refresh. Alright, okay, so now we are getting a 404 forbidden. If you quite remember, we had one when we are doing the checking of the occupied seat. So to go around this, we are going to add a CSRF exempt to the creator to our view. So let's move up a little bit, add it to it at CSRF exempt. Alright, so now let's go back. Last time, let's refresh. Let's make a post. Okay, Then we had a 500 error. Okay, so this time around it's from our server. Let's see what's going wrong here. Okay, keyword title not infilled. Okay, so it's from it's from okay, so the mistake is from here. It's supposed to be title instead. Sorry guys, sorry about that. Let's go back into our browser. Let's refresh. Okay, so let's click. Let's give it some view. We had an error. Wow, what did it return? It returned an error straight. It means okay guys, so we are getting an error. We are getting an error. The server was returning error. So the mistake was from here. Instead of it being .com, it's supposed to be .co. This is how it's supposed to be instead. Right. So now let's make a request once again. Okay, now you have a server error once again. Got an unexpected. So inside the model, it was called seat number. Okay. Inside the view, it's supposed to be seat number, not seat numbers. Sorry. This last time around, it is going to work. So let's close this thing down. Okay, you can see it, we are being redirected, and it is working perfectly. We chose one ticket, and it was for the Avengers movie, so you can see payment for one ticket of Avengers. So you can provide your details here, then you go, you collect your number, and you can see the price is showing here, just five. Then you click on pay. All right, okay, so the payment integration is working now. What is left now is to go on with the webhook, so that when a payment is successful, Paystack will be able to notify us that the payment has gone through, so I will be able to issue or book the seat for the person or for the customer.